Ladies and gentlemen, before we get into this video, I want some feedback. You see, I've recently started using my computer to edit and record everything. I'm not really using my iPad for anything anymore because my computer is so much better. It's RTX capable. It's a really powerful laptop, and I'm going to be using it from now on to make my videos. But that does come with a few changes in my editing style, and you'll notice some change-ups in branding and the way that I edit my videos from this point forth. So please let me know what you think of the changes that I make. Are they good? Are they not so good? Let me know your thoughts, and I will be sure to take them into consideration. I've already had quite a lot of feedback from Discord, and that is great. Anyway, on with this video where I show you a 7x7 powder snow door that I made with Viscose. I'm back with Viscose. Last time we did a video together, it became one of my most favourite on my channel, and it's also one of the most popular on either of our channels as well. So thank you very much for that. Anyway, enjoy. Some of you may remember from whether you're followers of either of our channels or both, that we've had our own contributions to a brand new concept by me called powdered snow doors. The idea being that rather than pushing blocks into the hallway, you push dispensers into the hallway and then fire the dispensers, placing the powdered snow in the correct arrangement. I made a 6x6 funnel door and also made a 4x4 funnel with some live commentaries. You can go and check that out. That'll be in the description below. And Viscose also made a 5x5 funnel, which he did a tutorial on. But this one is a 7x7 funnel door, and there is quite a lot happening in quite a small volume.
Yeah.
I'm very surprised at how small you've managed to get this. This was a massive step, and I was speaking to Viscose about this
Yeah.
in the prep for this world. 7x7 was a massive step up from 6x6.
Oh, yes.
So we weren't anticipating it at all,
Yeah.
because of the fact that slime sticks to absolutely everything. It's just really infuriating.
Yeah. The
Um,
biggest issues that we had were mostly things like actually firing the dispensers. You can see the observer storage that we have is all over the place. This right here acts as observer storage with the bottom triples, and these all act as observer storage for the sides. And the observer storage up here was actually really, really convoluted, as you can see, with a very strange
yeah.
sequence and weird input bugs and the like.
So I'll just run you through this top layer actually, because this is definitely the most interesting part of the whole thing. It is a triple piston extender, but it works in a fundamentally different way to standard triple piston extenders. So first of all, this double extends and retracts, which essentially spits out this block down here, and then this observer extends down and then extends across, and then this double extends, and this observer will pulse this dispenser
Yeah, so the dispensers
using
will be here.
the dispenser will be down there. And there was something interesting that had to happen here, and we'll explain that in a little bit with
Yeah, this right here.
with this setup here. Then this retracts back up again, folds away, and then this one pulses down. The observer extends across, and then this one fires down. So it's a similar triple piston extender setup to what you might see in conventional 545x5s and things like
Yeah.
that, where you've got observer storage on the side. It works in a very similar way, but the reason why we did it like this is because the slime sticks to the observers in every single other configuration,
Yeah.
which makes it much more difficult.
And if we hadn't gone for this sort of setup here, we would have needed a double piston extender for the observer storage. And as you can see, there's hardly any room for it.
Yeah, there's barely enough room for the TPE, let alone having
Yeah.
the double in there as well. Did you want to mention
Yeah.
this
So,
little quirky
so
quirky nugget?
while we were experimenting, and trying to find a way to put in the observer storage, I tried to see if there was any way that we could have the observers be automatically fired by the extension, and this was what I eventually came up with. And it's actually kind of quirky. What I wanted to do was have the observer get pushed in and then immediately get pushed for the dispenser, and as you can see, it worked there. retract it, pull it back out of the way, but it doesn't work all the time depending on your input. So this little demo sort of simulates what would happen in the door, and if you use a player input, it doesn't get powered. But if you use a repeater input, like here, you can see for whatever reason it does get powered. And yeah, it's just a weird little quirk with player and repeater input differences that actually made the top part doable.
Yeah, it's one of those weird Bedrock things where you only really get used to it if you do it enough. It's not anything which anyone ever talks about in terms of why it works or how to overcome it. It's just something you pick up and learn to work around. But this particular situation is actually really useful. All right, so there are quite a lot of entities and things in this door. I think you'll notice, and I did a little bit of a demonstration over here, talking about the entities that are used and the entity tricks. So Viscose, you come over here.
Yeah, sorry. Having technical difficulties. I'm on the way.
Okay. So you probably would have seen, if you're an avid redstoner, or if you just like watching redstone videos, that in certain piston doors and things, people will use things like minecarts or armor stands or something, and you may be a little bit confused as to why that happens, but it's just a way to create a long pulse in a really compact area.
Yeah.
And so this is like a conventional minecart pulse extender, if you like.
Yeah, this is
And
very
we've got a
standard.
cobweb up here that elongates the pulse and slows the minecart down so it doesn't fall quite as quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also this trick here, which to my knowledge was discovered by me, but I'm not entirely sure. Please let me know in the comments if that's not true. I don't want to take credit for something that's not mine. The concept being that this piston extends as soon as the minecart goes onto this pressure plate, which essentially thrusts down the minecart a little bit and shortens the pulse ever so slightly. So rather than it being ridiculously long with this system, it gets a little bit shorter with this. And you can also use sand to essentially give the minecart a boost up to the pressure plate if your piston has to be a bit further down. If you can't have a piston here, for example, because you've got
Yeah.
wiring or whatever that would interfere with it, you can use sand to boost it up.
Most
So we'll just
most of
give this
these
a bit of a
tricks.
demonstration.
Yeah, most of these tricks are very
Yeah.
versatile. Like with the sand, just so long as the minecart hits the pressure plate and is able to fall back down, you can configure these pretty much however you like. These two were just used in the door, as you can see. We've got an armor stand on the sand here on the side. And up top, we have minecart and pressure plate, and the piston minecart pressure plate. Void did pretty much all the wiring for the top and the sides.
Yeah, so there are a total of 5 entities used in this door, and they're all used in a similar way in these kind of situations. Something you might be interested in, and I didn't know this until I made this demonstration, is that sand also thrusts down the minecart a little bit. You can see this gives an ever so shorter pulse than this one over here. I never knew that. Maybe it could be used for something cool. I've no idea.
Yeah, in case you need a
So
slightly
that's
shorter
cool.
pulse.
Yeah, I just before we move on to the other demonstrations, I thought I would take this time to explain how to set up your various entity tricks in your doors. Because it can get a bit finicky, placing entities and stuff. For this fence one, you don't have to worry about it too much. Just place down a rail, place a minecart on it, nudge the minecart, and then remove the rail, and that will place it correctly.
And
But for this
depending on your
piston one,
direction as well. If you're in a direction like this, you might need to add another rail, which can be annoying, because unlike Java Edition, Bedrock has yet to actually get directional placement for its rails. As you can see, it isn't actually in the correct orientation. So just another rail fixes it.
Yeah.
Up and there it goes.
For a piston or a block, if you have a block here for whatever reason, you'll need to do something slightly different, because you can't just roll the minecart straight into a block, obviously. Minecraft 101. If you place a block up like this, and you can actually remove the cobweb for the minute, place 2 rails like that, so you got the rails sloping downward into the block. Place your minecart on top of the downward sloping rail, and you can see it lodges inside the block, and you can remove all of those rails and things. Place your cobweb back,
Yeah.
and that will put it in the correct place. That's kind of the easiest way of doing it, I guess. But
Yeah, an important thing to note is that you need to have either a slab or a cobweb right on top of the minecart or 2 blocks above where your piston
yeah,
is. Otherwise, it'll just sit on top and never leave.
yeah. So the slab, if you want a shorter
Shorter
pulse.
pulse.
You'll also notice in the layout here and in the door itself, in a matter of fact, there are a lot of these strange systems here where you've got a piston facing upward, a big line of blocks, and then a piston facing downward again. And these are called sliders. And you can use sliders for all sorts of different things.
Yes.
And many the sliders in this particular door have many different functions. These sliders on the sides here, they're responsible for pulsing all of these dispensers in time. The slider here is responsible for pushing the dispensers back flush again once they get pulled back by the slime. This slider also doubles as a way to transmit the redstone up rather than using a slab tower, which is not going to work in this particular situation. Sliders are so versatile,
Oh,
and
yeah.
so we thought we'd include a little segment where we explain sliders to you. So Viscose, do you want to take over from here? You probably
Yeah,
use them a
sure.
lot.
So, yeah, I use sliders a huge amount. If you've seen any of the smaller doors on my channel, you've probably seen at least one slider in all of them. And it's very obvious what they do. You push blocks down, push them back up, they toggle states. It's just, there's a lot of ways of setting them up. Void set up this here, and it's actually used, this trick is used a lot in feed tapes as well, where the changing of the cobblestone wall will update the observer, automatically pushing your slider back up. As you can see, change of state, observer pushes it back up. And then there's this one right here, where you have it automatically get pushed back down by just solid powering, because, funnily enough, on Bedrock Edition, pistons don't get butted. So, for example, if this were Java Edition, power this, if I remove that obsidian, this piston would have to receive an update before realizing it could actually extend. But Bedrock Edition, they'll just extend anyways, so you get situations like this. There is just one issue with having this setup though, and it's actually broken a lot of my doors when I'm not careful. And this is a little demo here. And pretty much these will suffer from unreliability because even though they're being powered at the exact same time, the depowering on the bottom will sometimes create unreliability for when these top ones can push back down. So you can see there, they pushed down at the exact same time, and that time they were off by around about a tick. And so while they are very versatile, that's one thing that you definitely need to look out for. It's just sliders, you can replace any of these blocks with anything that you want, and it'll work just fine, just the same, and you can take outputs from it at pretty much any point. So for example, say I need to somehow pulse a piston here and take an output from here in the door, which is pretty much exactly what was done on the slider right here. You can see that if we just give this solid power, and I've actually apparently messed it up and put it in the wrong spots, but still. If you give it solid power, on this state, it'll get the pulse and turn on, and then when you turn it off and push it back again, it'll toggle and go back to the original state. And so with that, sliders are really useful.
This particular setup here using the cobble wall is really interesting because this is a way to make one wide tileable sliders.
Yes.
So if you go back to the door again, sorry Visco's going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at this slider here, for example, if I were to put a redstone block here and take an output from that, then it wouldn't work for a number of reasons. The first one is that it would power this piston here when it is idle. So either it would refire circuits we didn't want to refire, or it wouldn't fire in the first place when we wanted it to. Also, when it extends down, it would power this redstone dust, and essentially refire the whole door again. So I had to figure out a different way of doing this, and that's where I use the cobble wall. So you can see the wall gives an output to this observer, which wraps all the way around and back to this piston without ever triggering anything around it. So it's a much cleaner system to use, and you can incorporate whatever delay and stuff you want as well. I definitely recommend using this cobble wall trick if you want to make your sliders separate from the rest of your wiring.
Yeah. So with that, we're on to the
The
last
last thing we
thing.
wanted to the last thing we wanted to mention is the fact that this door is extraordinarily locational, as in if you shift it across a chunk border in any direction, then it will break, and that is because of some quirky things which we don't want to talk about, called chunk borders.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Yeah.
so these are our corners here. These little chevron shapes here are chunk corners, and you can even see in my little little GUI in the corner if you're watching on my video. That this observer and this repeater are inside the same chunk, but this repeater and this observer are crossing chunk borders. So you'll be able to see, if we activate it, that the pistons kind of, they don't do the same thing every time. A bit similar to this slider, I guess.
Yeah.
But because of the chunk border, it updates in a random order and causes a huge amount of problems.
Yeah.
And this happens with basically every single redstone component, bar like 3 or something. I think it's like a piston and a sticky piston or something that don't do this. But that's it. So
Yeah.
you really need to be careful with locationality. And there are ways of making sure that this horrendous bug doesn't break your doors, and that is to
Yeah.
make sure that everything is slow enough that it
Yeah.
doesn't matter if things are a few ticks in either direction. But most of the time, if you're going for speed doors, like I do most of the time, then this is a massive pain in the backside,
Oh yeah.
because it seriously inhibits your ability to take outputs from your existing wiring.
That's pretty much all you
All
wanted
right,
to
is there
show.
anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I don't have anything.
I don't think we actually showed this door open.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. And you can see this triple piston extender coming down. It's really slow because of how the layout works, but it's like a price that you have to pay when you're working with such complex layouts in such a small area.
Yeah.
If you're watching the video on my channel, then the likelihood is that I'll remember to put a world download in the description. The likelihood is that there won't be a world download on Viscose's channel, just because of, you know,
Theft.
the old plagiarism going on.
This will definitely show up on a Buildings for MCPE app if I put it on my channel.
Yeah. Yeah, all I ask, if you make a video on this with the world download and stuff, reach out to either me or Viscose on Discord,
Yeah.
and ask for permission first, and make sure you include adequate credit and etc. etc. There is a
As always.
watermark on the side. Please don't get rid of that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So I don't think there's anything else you wanted to mention. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. I hope you
Yep.
found this video interesting. And that's about it. See you
Mhm.
next time. Bye.
Bye.